No, let's just do like this.
Okay.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone to another weekly live stream on Subtle Asian Voices. We're joined by a very good friend, Eric Ho, who's also a fraternity brother. How long have I known you actually? Since was it 08, 09?
Yeah, around 2008, 2007, 2008.
Mm-hmm. That's like 14
years.
Yeah,
14 years.
A long time.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
So it's been a good amount of time. Cool.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us today, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to talk about your job as a dentist. We have a couple of questions, but before we jump into it, why don't we actually have you give us an introduction?
Sure, yeah. Again, my name's Eric Ho. I'm 33. I live in Alexandria, Virginia now. I practice dentistry. I originally grew up in Florida. Some of the hobbies I like to do include hiking, cycling, off-roading. Got a dog now. I like to take our dog to different areas.
What type of dog?
A golden doodle.
What's the name of the dog?
Winston. Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, we'll take him to hikes and to check out new areas. And so that's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And then just off-roading. You talk about like you take your car off-road?
No, sorry, my bike.
Oh, with the bike. Cool.
Yeah.
Is there trails that you go off-riding?
Around here, I haven't found too many, but when I was in Connecticut, there was a few good ones, like the Airline Trail, Vernon Trail.
Have you done any here so far?
I've only done the WNOD, and then, but that's paved. It's a rail trail, so I haven't done more than that. And I've done like Mount Vernon Trail, and then haven't gone to the Chesapeake and Ohio Trail yet, but.
Oh, that's a fun one.
To do that one.
That's a nice one. Okay,
cool.
Yeah. So let us. Hopefully, I still have it. Yes.
Okay.
So now we're gonna do a little bit of a fun. Don't look at the questions.
Okay.
We're gonna do some rapid fire questions. Alrighty. You know, whatever the first word comes to your mind, I'm gonna say two things.
Okay.
And just say the first one that comes to your mind. Okay. First one is ramen or pho.
Ramen.
That was quick. East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast.
East Coast. DC or Florida?
DC.
Fast. Europe or Asia?
Europe.
Colgate or Crust?
Colgate.
Okay.
No preference. First.
Steak or seafood?
Steak.
That's fast too. Big city or countryside?
Big city.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was fun. All right, now let's talk a little bit more formal about where you went to school, what kind of educational training you had, and things like that to get where you are. Let's start from everything after high school. Like, what was your educational background?
Yeah, sure. I went to University of Florida for my undergrad. I studied civil engineering there. And then I did a post-bac in Florida Atlantic University to transition in dentistry. And then I studied at Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine in Bradenton, Florida for dentistry, and did a residency in Ohio. And then after that, practiced in Connecticut for a while. And then now I practice in Virginia. So
it's a pretty...
Oh, what's up, John?
Oh, Johnny's here.
Yeah.
LSD?
Yeah.
So let me make sure I have an understanding. So it's like 4 years of undergrad.
Yeah.
You did post-bac at FAU. Was that like 1 year, 2 years?
Like a year and a half.
Year and a half. Then it's dentistry 4 years. And then residency is 1 year. 1 year?
1 year.
And then you started practice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's start getting into some of the questions. Shout out to LSD again for jumping on the live stream. First question is, like, you just mentioned it too. You went to engineering first, which is very interesting. It's like two of the golden standards of what Asian parents would want. You're engineering and medicine, right?
Yeah.
But so the question is, you started off as a civil engineer.
Yeah.
What made you interested in engineering? And then, so it's two questions.
Yeah.
That's the first one. And what caused the switch over to dentistry?
Yeah, so I started off with civil engineering, and what made me interested in engineering was in high school, I actually took like a CAD class, computer-aided design, and I think I took it for like 3, maybe even 4 years out of high school, or in high school, and so that really helped me gain interest in civil kind of work, roadways, bridges, and such. And I was always very strong in mathematics and science. So
Mhm.
it just naturally felt like a field I wanted to be into, and study and learn and to kind of pursue a career in. So
Okay.
I was, going through college, taking my courses, taking my upper division courses. And actually, there was a point where I didn't feel that great about what I was learning and where I was going with my career. And that's kind of when I started to transition into a different field. And I remember starkly in my last year at UF, I met with my advisor, and I was actually kind of nervous to meet with him because I wanted to tell him that I didn't want to do civil engineering anymore.
I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
How far along was this? This is like your last year?
Yeah, this is my last year. It actually took me like 4.5 years to complete my degree. And the credits for civil engineering is 131 credits.
Wow.
Normally it's 120, which is 4 years.
Yeah.
But for civil, it's 131.
So you went to speak with your advisor at 130 something credits.
Basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like at the very end of engineering, I was kind of struggling. I wasn't feeling great about my career after college. I was like, oh, I'm gonna just sit at a desk and do this and do that. Not that
Did you work already?
I did some internships.
Okay.
During the summertime between years. Mm-hmm.
What was the specific experience that made you feel like this is not what you want to do? Like, was there something that happened?
I think it was a combination of
combination stuff.
Like the internships I had, and I worked in the private and the public sector. And it just wasn't for me. And, engineering is a great field, and it's a, really, it's a nice career for a lot of people, and you really do help and can do a lot of cool projects. But it just wasn't for me after I kind of studied it, and then I
realized
worked in a couple different sectors, and then I was like, I don't even know what I should do. And I was almost done with my studies. But when I met with my advisor, and, I was in my last year, and I was worried he was going to, judge me. He was going to say, hey, you've already put like 4 years into this, and you want to quit. But actually, it was the opposite. So he was very supportive. When I told him I didn't want to do engineering anymore, he was like, oh, well, that's great, actually. So what do you want to do? He was very supportive. It was like the opposite of what I thought his reaction would be. Yeah. And I'll never forget it because he's a very analytical man. His name's Dr. Tiki. He's a great guy.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, he might still be teaching at UF, but he's a great professor. And he's just very methodical. And when you approach him, you worry that he's kind of evaluating you like really hard and critically. But when I told him and broke the news, he was just like, oh, so what do you want to do? What are you into? And he was very open about it. And that made me feel great. And then it was so much of an easier time for me to say, okay, I'm not going to do engineering anymore. I'm going to finish what I started, and then I'm going to just do something else. So then it just kind of made it a lot easier to go away from civil engineering into another career. Yeah.
So, you knew you didn't want to do engineering. What was going through your mind that made you pick dentistry? Like, how did you decide upon dentistry?
Yeah, I think it was the people I was with at the time. A lot of people were in healthcare, some of my friends.
Okay, makes sense.
And I always wanted to do something that impacted people and has a direct benefit for them. So with engineering, I wanted to, build a bridge, make a roadway, kind of help them out. I looked in healthcare, and then I was like, okay, so what kind of things can I do to help people out? Obviously there's doctors, there's nurses, there's PAs, physical therapy and whatnot. And then I learned more about dentistry, and, you can really change someone's life just by doing something simple for them. You could even do something dramatic, but you really impact their lives by just helping them with their smile, helping them get out of pain, making them more comfortable, confident about themselves. So there's a lot of facets to dentistry that I really found interesting. And it started by just volunteering. I was just I was still at UF, and then I volunteered at their clinic on once or twice a week. And I got to meet the dental students. I got to meet the faculty. And I wasn't really anybody because I just was studying civil engineering, and I wasn't studying the traditional biology, chemistry route.
Was this
nutrition?
Your last year of college?
Yeah, this is my last year.
So you started doing all this exploring of dentistry in your last year?
Yeah, my last year. I took one serious class And then the rest of those, I took like biology and chemistry. Or
In your
not,
last year?
Not chemistry. What did I take? I took biology and some other.
Your last year?
My last year. I never took biology in college before, and I was like, I'm just gonna take it. I was still there anyways, so I just used some credits, took some classes.
Very interesting.
And I was like, I like this, and I was doing good in it. So in engineering, I was actually not doing great.
Well, engineering is hard.
So yeah, it was difficult, and it's even to be honest with you, it's only hard if you don't like it, if you don't find it interesting and passionate about it.
But do you find yourself not liking it as you were doing it? Because you seem like you liked the CAD classes in high school.
Yeah, so I did like that, but then in engineering, it was like I felt it was kind of mundane. I mean, I took like 3 years of calculus plus like some other math classes.
3 years.
Took like all these other core classes. It's just like a lot of calculations, math, and whatnot. And it was always, the similar thing. You have this formula, you have these equations, and you have to, run through these numbers, and then you have to, do a graph or, figure out certain things. And certain coefficients and things like that. And it was always very much a similar thing in each and every class. And I just kind of got bogged down by like that subject, and it didn't interest me as much as I was going through it. And I was like, oh man, do I really want to do this? And it just didn't reaffirm what I was kind of pursuing, and I kind of didn't care as much in the classes. So then I started doing poorly in the classes. I even like failed the class one semester because I just really didn't put a lot of effort into it.
Okay.
Yeah. But then when I made my switch over, I was like acing all of those science classes, all of the biology.
Oh, good.
All the upper level ones, like microbiologies. I was like, and I was really interested in those ones. And it was just like a switch for me. So
you found your interest in dentistry. You did some shadowing and everything. And then you did, afterwards, you completed, I guess, your prereqs for dental school during your post-bac.
Yep.
How was that experience like?
Yeah, it was great. It was a different campus on the East Coast. I'd never really hung out there before. In Boca, near Boca.
Oh, Boca, yeah.
Yeah, and I knew it was a great transition because after my first semester, I was able to become a TA for several classes. And so I was able to do well in those classes. And then the professors wanted me to teach their students because I did well in those classes.
Very nice.
And then, what I always believe in is if you really understand something, you can really teach another person how to do the same thing. So that was really, also reaffirming in the direction I was going. I was doing well in the classes. I was able to, be a part of the courses and teach the next class, and then help those students understand what the subject is all about. And I was able to climb and do, higher courses and do well in that too, and also do some research on the side as well. So yeah, those are all really great. So it was like a good trend. With engineering, I felt like I was like I went up, plateaued, and then I started declining. And then when I transitioned, I started climbing. And
you really enjoyed this stuff.
And I really enjoyed it. And then, and so, and it wasn't work for me because I was like, oh, this is a lot of fun. And I get to show everyone how to, figure out certain problems. And then I was also shadowing, and then I worked for a dentist at the time as well. So those all came together and they just synergized. And it's just like, okay, this is really the right career path for me because everything just made sense for me and just felt very good in what I was involved with. Yeah.
Take me through, it's kind of related to what you're saying now. We're working through your journey into dental school. For someone who has no idea what are the requirements of getting into dental school, seems like that's what you're going through in the post-bac. Can you tell me, what would you say to someone who's in college and wants to go to dental school? What are the general requirements?
Yeah, so just basic stuff without particularly picking a major. You have to have a bachelor's degree of some sort.
Some bachelor's.
I will say the average age for people getting into dental school is 25. So most of the times people don't get into dental school right out of college, which is a good thing because then if someone's in college and they're like, oh, I'm struggling, I can't, I'm applying to all these schools, I'm applying to all these programs, I've interviewed, I haven't really got any hits, and people, they kind of turned me down at these places. Don't get discouraged because it's fine. Not everyone gets in right at 22 and right after college. And also you don't need to do biology, chemistry major. You don't have to be a nutrition major or in the science type of major. For example, I studied engineering and I was able to make that transition into dentistry. There's some of my classmates that were in accounting. They were accounting majors, or some of them ran their own business for a while. One of my classmates owned a gas station, which probably did pretty well. And then, but it's just like you don't have to go the traditional route, And I think the admissions team at schools really like to see people that are unconventional and different, unique. They bring something unique to the table, and they can diversify their class that way. The other thing is that you do want to obviously take those prerequisites and do well in them.
Yep.
So what I mean is you don't have to major in the sciences, but you need to at least take some of the sciences, and you have to at least have a major that is challenging enough. So it can't just be like I don't know, like a basket weaving course or whatever. Like you can't just be a BS major, right? Like it can't just be. It has to be like something at least challenging. So that can show that you can handle a course load for a whole semester, for a full year, and that you can do other things as well. But take the prerequisites. They're all listed. There's a large book for all dental schools of what they look at and what they require before you go in. Some schools require anatomy, some schools require microbiology, some schools don't. And then look at the average GPA and see what they would look at. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be a 4.0 student. You could be, below that, or you could have been someone that had a full-time job while you were going to classes full-time, and then you were also doing some extracurriculars on the side, like some research project. So if you can show that you've been involved in a lot of things, you can multitask and balance things and still carry on, then the admissions team usually really enjoys those kind of people. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a standardized test for admission?
Yeah, we do. So it's called the Dental Assessment Test, or the DAT. I took it a while ago, and it's basically 4 subjects. It's 5 subjects: chemistry, biology, organic chemistry, reading, and math. So it's those 5 ones. It's kind of like a GRE plus your sciences.
Gotcha.
So you'll have the core sciences, biology, chemistry, and organic chemistry. And you do want to do well in those, but then you also have the reading and mathematics section. And that's important because you obviously will read a lot in dental school. You may be involved in research. You may need to know how to do some basic statistics and things like that. And so they want to make sure that you can perform in those areas well enough to be successful in dental school. Because once you get into dental school, they want you to succeed. When a dental school accepts a student, their hope is for them to graduate and become a dentist. Dental schools or even medical schools or pharmacy schools don't accept people because they think that they will not succeed and they will just pay tuition and then drop out. That is never the goal of any admissions team, I'm pretty sure. So they want to make sure that the people they take in can handle what the load of the course is and also succeed and do well and become professionals afterwards. Yeah.
Just out of my own curiosity, what is the like average score that one would need to be like somewhat competitive? Like, just to have a baseline of what I'm going for here. The PCAT is what we use for pharmacy, and when I was taking it, it would be like you would have to score around a 70-ish% at a minimum, but be around 80 percentile, like perform better than 80% of the people that took the PCAT to be very competitive. And then I also took the MCAT, and the MCAT seemed to be around like a 30 was nice, like to be competitive for the majority of medical schools, like somewhat competitive.
It's like out of 45 or something, right?
I think it was like 40. Like most people I know, if you got a 30, you were set.
That's true.
Yeah, I got a 25. I was dumb. But but then like I remember like between 25 and 30, you would get like offers to like podiatry school or DO schools. But like for MD program, 30 was very competitive for a majority. So like what is it for like DAT?
So the DAT, I think the max score in each section is 30. So I can't remember how many questions were in each section, but if you want it to be competitive, probably 25 and up is very competitive. If you had a 25 and up, you most likely had the pick of the litter for the schools you applied to.
Oh, okay.
So you'd probably be, out of 10 schools, you'd probably be accepted at 7 out of 10 schools.
At 25, with the score 25. What is the score out of?
30.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's pretty high then.
Yeah, so it's pretty high. So and then below 20 is really you
need to retake.
Yeah, you may need to retake. It's gonna be a struggle. You can still apply because they only offer the test so many times throughout the year. Okay. So if you score below 20, then it'll be pretty tough. You could still apply, but every application is like, I don't know, it was like $90 or something. So if you apply to like 10 schools, that's $900.
Oh yeah,
so you don't like you may want to you could decide to apply, or you could just skip that application cycle and try it again next year.
Okay. What about 20 to 25?
2025 is decent. That's pretty good. I'd say that's like 50% of schools you might be considering.
Oh, that's still not bad.
Pretty good.
Okay,
yeah,
that's right. The 25 is really nice.
So 25 is really nice. It's like you have the pick of the litter. You're gonna most likely get into your school of the choice. The 20 to 25 range is decent. It's competitive. It's like what you would consider that 30 range is competitive for med school.
Gotcha.
So it is very competitive between that 20-25 range, and you're likely to get an interview. So that doesn't necessarily mean you'll be accepted, but you'll likely interview at multiple places, and then if you interview well and amongst the other candidates, then you could have a good chance of being accepted at least at some programs.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's move on to another one. Now let's move all the way to your dentist.
Yeah.
As you are right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Can you tell talk a little bit more about your day to day and like your job responsibility? What does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah.
How's it start?
So I work like a normal schedule, like 8 to 5 type of schedule, Monday through Fridays. Generally try to get there a little earlier to round up with my team, kind of talk about what's going on today, who's coming in, how many patients are we seeing, how many new patients, what kind of procedures we're going to do. Make sure everybody has a good idea of what the game plan is for that day. And then, patients may reschedule or things may change. There may be appointments added to the day. So we at least know what we started with, and then we can account for any additions or changes throughout the day. After we kind of round up together, I go through everyone's chart notes and then make sure that I check their histories and what they recently came in for. And then when I meet them, I'm pretty familiar. So then it's not like I'm just going in blind. So once we have a good game plan, I'll do my procedures that are scheduled for the day. I do a variety of procedures. The main things I don't really do is like placing implants themselves. But I will do mostly every other thing there. So anything related to gums, some of the bone stuff, some of the root canal stuff, and aesthetic stuff, and rebuilding and changing people's smiles and those kind of procedures. Yep. And throughout the day, as I'm working on procedures, I'll have my main schedule, which is under my column. And then there's also hygienists that we have who clean the teeth, check people, make sure to take their x-rays and whatnot. And then I'll periodically go into the rooms to do the periodic exams or examinations for the patients to evaluate how their teeth are doing, talk to them about what's going on, identify their needs and figure out how we can help them and get them what they're looking for their teeth and their smile. So that's generally kind of how my day-to-day goes, pretty much 5 days a week. Yeah.
What percentage would you say you are in direct patient care, actually physically with the patient and interacting with them or working on them versus like other things like more administrative? You're checking email or Outlook or doing paperwork.
Yeah. So I would say it's pretty high that I'm with the patient, pretty high percentage. I'll probably with 85%.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. So it's like if there's 8 hours in the day and I'm work with them 85% of the time. So I'm like 6.5 hours or so. So I don't even know how the math works out, but 7 hours or so with the patient, doing different things with them. And then the other time is like chart notes, writing my notes, and then reviewing notes from other patients from the hygiene column, and then discussing things with my staff, talking about treatment plans with them, making sure that my staff can help me coordinate the patient's treatment and understand their insurance and get their benefits written down so they know what costs can be involved with their treatment. And so I spend a little bit of time doing that, but predominantly I don't do too much of that. Oh, you
I don't know if
the stream might have. Oh, was that on some other name?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, it depends on where it was streaming to. We're fine. It's cool.
Okay, cool.
In any case, cool.
Yeah.
So you have the vast majority of time spent with patients.
Yeah.
There was something something else I was curious about, but I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Day to day. Okay. Are most, because it's very dependent on the patients, and like for example, most people come in like maybe once every 6 months, right? Are most of your days full, or do you have like is it empty? Like what does that look like? Are every single day full? Is it like usually like a mix? Like what is that?
Yeah. So the goal is to have a full schedule. Most of the time it's full. It really depends on the time of the year. It can be seasonal. For example, in my practice, we have children and families that come in, and so when summertime hits, people may go on vacation, and their children may be out of school, and so they may bring them in the beginning, and then they'll go on vacation, and then we won't see them in the middle of summer. And then right before school, they may bring them back in, or during holidays, we'll see more children or more of the college students that are coming back from college, their college break. So it could be pretty seasonal, but the goal is to have full schedules. Most of the time it's full. There are days when it's kind of spotty or light. And we do try to be productive in different ways. If I'm not doing patient work, then I'll try to do administrative stuff like you were kind of asking about.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's a typical day to day. Now let's jump into some other questions. This is an interesting one where you are technically both an engineer and a dentist. How does your parents feel about that? It was like, I won the lottery.
So I think my parents were pretty happy when I got into UF and was pursuing engineering. They knew that UF was a good school. My parents never went to college themselves, but they understood the importance of going to college, having a higher education. They also knew that engineering was a decent career choice. It's not something that I would struggle in or whatnot. But I told them the news about leaving engineering, going into dentistry a little later in my college career. And so they were kind of concerned because I had already spent and committed so much time into engineering. And they were worried that, well, they thought I was like wasting the 4.5 years of undergrad in college and going to do something different. They were concerned at first because it was like all this time, and then I didn't have a clear path of how I was going to get in dentistry, and I wasn't in dental school yet. So they're like, "Oh, you sure you want to do this and whatnot?" And when I went to FAU, I actually had to pick up a part-time job so I can take these extra courses, these prerequisite courses to get into dentistry. So because I didn't have scholarships after UF, so I was just going off of paying for classes myself to kind of pursue this dream or this passion of mine.
You worked and went to school at the same time?
Yeah, I worked. I went to school. I was
loans.
No, I didn't take loans. So
jeez.
So yeah, I worked. I ended up working in a restaurant on the weekends. I worked at a dentist's office during the weekdays, and then I was tutoring or being a teaching assistant at school during the weekdays as well. So I had 3 separate paid jobs to help me kind of pay for classes and you know, obviously food and things like that.
Was school
while I was
part-time or full-time?
I was in school full time, so I took like 15 or 16 credits.
You're crazy.
So, yeah, and I had like labs and stuff like that. So I had like a couple labs, few semester like microbiology and like
Oh my God, that does
some
not
other
sound
lab,
fun.
physiology lab and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty busy when I was in my post-bac. So 3 jobs plus school full time.
Okay.
And then the commute, like I didn't live close to Boca. I lived like half an hour away. And then there was another campus I had to go to. It was in Davie. And that was like an hour away. So sometimes I have to do 2 hours of commute on top of all that. So that was, I don't really miss those times. I remember those times. It was great. But yeah, all that time I spent working and then studying is like, it was a struggle for sure.
So when your parents saw that, were they supportive of that? Were they still skeptical? Like,
yeah, so once they saw that like I was working pretty hard and I wasn't just like sitting around like not doing anything, then they kind of felt more at ease about it. But even then, it wasn't real until I actually got into dental school. So they still didn't. They were supportive, but they kind of backed off. But they weren't like they weren't sure because I still was trying to get into dental school. But once I got into dental school, then they were very thrilled and they like all their worries were like kind of put aside. Yeah,
they're like, our retirement is set.
Basically, I mean, by the time when I graduated, they're at my graduation for dental school. They're like, "Oh yeah, you can like help us out now." I was like, I didn't even start working, make a living yet. So,
can I ask you related note because like that's a very big struggle to go through, working 3 different jobs, you know, having this whole like looming, what am I going to do? Is this dental school going to happen? Because you might have not got accepted.
That's true.
There's a chance of that, right? How did it feel when you got accepted? Did you only apply to one? No,
you applied to several.
Okay.
Like, you interviewed in Florida and stuff like UF and Lake Erie or Lake Com, I guess is the short name of it. And
how did you feel when you got accepted?
I felt great. I mean, it just felt like, and of course it's a great feeling, you know, whenever you work hard to accomplish something, and you get rewarded with, you know, that acceptance. It's gonna feel amazing, and it just makes all that hard work and all that time and dedication into just this one goal. You know, it's just made it all worth it. You know, and it was just a big relief. And it's like they just like email you. It's like, you know, you don't like get like I didn't get like a official like certified letter or anything. I just got like an email, and then
it's still nice.
Like, yeah, it's very nice. You know, and I think people that have like applied to colleges and also like gone into higher like post-bac graduate level courses, they kind of understand that because, you know, when you get that letter of acceptance from your master's program or your PhD or whatever program you're looking into, you're like, yes, I got it.
And it's an
awesome feeling. Okay. And you've probably been there yourself. So, you know firsthand how good it feels. You know, you work really hard, you make the connections, you hope it, you know, works out, and you hope that people like you enough that they will take you. And when you get an acceptance, it's a great feeling. And then, but the work's not over yet. So,
you get accepted. But I'm just thinking like in my mind, if I was in your shoes, I was like, geez, everything paid off. Like you got accepted because many people applied. Dental school is not easy to get into. Like many people dream of doing it, and there were many rejections. So it's I'm just thinking about how you would have felt at that time. That's good feeling. Okay. Along those lines, can you tell me about a time in your whole journey here? You know, whether like after high school, like whether it was college or post-bac or dental school, or even now, like tell me about a time that you struggled the most, and maybe to the point where you probably wanted to quit. And then and the second part of that is like, how did you overcome it?
So it never really happened to me in dental school, like but in engineering, that I did feel like that. I felt defeated at one point. In dental school, it was just like
you never had a feeling.
I kind of built up to that, you know, working pretty hard, and like I mentioned, everything just made sense. And
how about I rephrase it? Not quit then. But what was the most difficult time that you had in anytime in your journey to becoming a dentist?
It still is engineering, but yeah. Engineering was not fun for me. I mean,
Okay,
anyways,
let's talk about that then.
Um,
Let's talk about
yeah.
that. If there is one moment where you felt
Yeah.
really pressured and you
Yeah.
wanted to quit,
Mhm.
tell me about that time, and then
Yeah.
tell me how you overcame it.
So like it goes back, and I can talk about engineering. Or,
Yeah. Go for
So
it.
in engineering, in my third year, that's the year when I like actually failed a course, and I've never really failed. I've never failed anything flat out. I've maybe done pretty bad.
Sorry, like
but
an F or
yeah,
D?
like I had to retake that course. Yeah, like E. I don't even know. It's
You
like,
didn't drop it?
So I wasn't. I wasn't very organized, and I didn't plan things out. I didn't drop it. I just kept it. I was also very involved on campus, like doing extracurriculars. I was doing too many extracurriculars, and it was like taking up too much of my time. And then I wasn't interested in those courses. It was actually a course called soils mechanics, like you just play with dirt and stuff. There's more to it than that. But, so I failed soils mechanics, and it was just terrible because I remember one time, it was like the second exam. I went into the exam. I didn't study at all. I sat down, I looked at the paper, and I was like, I do not know what to do for any of these questions. And I just like sat there, wrote my name, kind of twiddled my thumb for a while, waited till the end of the exam. And it just felt pretty terrible because I didn't put in the work to learn the material. I was just sitting there, had no clue what to do. I was pretty sure I wouldn't get any points at all, and just sitting there waiting for the time to expire. And it was just like a very terrible feeling. And then eventually, I kept the class, and I should have dropped it, but I don't remember exactly why I didn't drop it, but maybe it was too late by that time. I had maybe already taken a test, and then it was like a few weeks later and I couldn't drop it. But I ended up failing that class. I had to retake it if I wanted to graduate in my career. The next semester, I really dropped pretty much all my extracurriculars and just focused on trying to finish my degree. And I retook that class. I actually aced it.
Nice.
Yeah. And I like got hundreds on the test. Like
came back with the vengeance.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the professor remembered me because one day I like missed one class for whatever reason. But I was actually like, I made a 180. I like went to every single class. I read the material. I studied it. I was like knocking the stuff out. I was like, man, I know this soil stuff and whatnot. And then I went in to talk about a test to the professor, and he's like, and I was just like I was just asking him like, oh, so what are the topics on the test? He didn't want to tell me because I'm pretty sure he knew that I was one of the people that failed the previous class, and he didn't want to say anything. I ended up acing that exam too, but he just like was not supportive of like going into his office hours and asking him like, hey, what's on your test? Like, he's like, nah, I don't know, just like read the material. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll figure it out. And I did. Yeah. So, but I just like, the year before was pretty bad. It was just like, I was struggling with that, struggling to manage. Basically, I felt like I couldn't organize my life. I couldn't organize what I was trying to do outside of class, and then I couldn't organize what I was doing in class. And that's like when I really knew I didn't want to do engineering for the rest of my life. It's like that year. And I just knew I wanted to finish it and then do something different.
So even with the realization and those things that you experienced, what exactly like helped you overcome it? Because we're talking about going from failing in class to getting hundreds on the test.
Yeah.
Like what was there? Like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
Did you motivate yourself in some way?
So I think dropping the extracurriculars made a lot of sense.
Very practical. Okay.
And I think so college is great because, you want to get that college experience. You meet a lot of people, you get involved in a lot of different things. And it depends on your personality, how much you want to get involved with. For me, I think I'm an extrovert, and I just really like to meet people and like to, coordinate and collaborate with people. And so that's kind of why I got into our fraternity, and then subsequently got involved with all the other organizations on campus. But those experiences are great. You want to be part of them, but you want to manage how much you're involved. And I think I didn't know how to manage that. I was just like, oh, I'm just going to sign up for this one. I'm going to run for this position. I had like 3 or 4 positions, a couple in the fraternity, a couple in these other orgs, and I would just spread thin. And I think that was a year I was a senator for student government. So I was which is a lot of time commitment. It's every single week for like 3 hours or something. You're sitting in a room with like 100 people and there's debating about stuff. I remember we had to debate about a Facebook ad for some organization, and they're like, "Oh, should we give them this money to put this Facebook ad?" I was like, "I don't even care. Like, why am I even here?" So, who knows? And you manage, like in student government, you manage like $16 million at UF. It's just like ridiculous. And I was just like sitting there, wasting my time every single. I think it was like a Wednesday or Tuesday. I just didn't like it. I'm not hating on student government. People that do it, it's great. It definitely needs to be done, but I just did not like it, and I was a part of it. And then the next year I was like, absolutely, I'm not going to be a part of it, right? So I gave that up, and then there was other things that I kind of dropped as well. And then I was able to refocus. I'm like, I'm obviously here in college for a college degree.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to focus on my college degree, and I only have one more year left. I just need to do well, and and I was like, I'm going to make this engineering thing work. And then I knew I needed to get my butt in gear and try to figure out how I'm gonna do well, succeed, and then pass, and then graduate. So whatever happens after that, I was like, I'll figure it out as I get there. And so then I really buckled down, studied, and I actually was really interested in that class. I just didn't put in the effort in the year before, because there's a lab component to that class, and you like kind of test the soil and stuff. I remember I had some friends in that class, and we actually had a pretty fun time one lab. And it's like you're supposed to like pound dirt basically and you're supposed to test the stress level of the soil. And we just ended up making these like dirt snowmen out of dirt. And it was like we were having a blast. And so it was actually a fun class. And I just didn't really value it that much at the time. But then when I retook it, I was like, this makes a lot of sense, and I'm gonna do my best. And I did great. So, and I was able to turn around. So, but I know some people out there may be struggling with certain things, and they may feel like they're stuck in a rut. And I definitely felt like I was stuck in a rut between that third year and fourth year. And between making that change and transition over to dentistry, I did not know what I was going to do. And I was like, oh man, I've invested all this time, and I spent so many hours, and I spent so many credits and money in doing this. And, sometimes it felt like I had no way out. But I will just say, there is a way out. You don't always have to be doing one thing. You just have to reach out to the right people, open up the mindset, change it around. And then there's different ways to pursue something that you really enjoy. So there's always something different, and there's always time to do it. It's just how you want to do it and what makes sense for you. So that's kind of what I would, if there's any advice I could give on people that are in that position. It's really, you can do something that makes you happy and be successful in it too. You don't have to keep doing something that it makes you unhappy, makes you, kind of hate what you're doing or hate life and grumpy or whatnot. So
I'm sure a lot of people relate to that too. It's I think it's also really hard being in your position, being so involved, especially as an extrovert, being involved in so many different things. It's really hard to come to the realization of something needs to change.
Yeah.
Where you I think that's really hard to just drop your social things as an extrovert and just focus. But it's nice to hear it firsthand from your experience. I'm sure a lot of people out there that are watching probably feel like that too. If they're in that case, and they're like, okay, something needs to change.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some more, maybe more fun questions. That was that was very deep.
Yeah, I guess
that was good.
No,
that was good. That was good. I can definitely relate to that. I have a lot of those experiences. How about this fun one? Tell me about one of your role models and how they inspired you. And it could be someone that's alive or dead. Someone that you maybe didn't know about, any role model.
Yeah. People that kind of come to mind, I like Muhammad Ali a lot.
Okay.
He was obviously a very famous boxer, and he's very successful in his time. He had a lot of ups and downs actually. In his career. He dodged the draft, or I'm probably making the kind of chopping this up, but he basically was against the Vietnam War. and he really stood up for that. And he was really strong in his boxing career right before that. But then when he didn't go into enlisting in the war, they took away his ability to box. And so he could not box for several years.
Oh, wow.
And, but he didn't give up. He eventually got back into boxing. He became world champion, and he was defeated eventually. But then he came back. And it's about that attitude of like, you're going to be faced with things in life that may bring you down, that may defeat you. But it's your mentality to stay strong and overcome those hurdles. And, may not need to challenge that same struggle again, but you may be able to navigate around it and be successful in a different sense. And that really resonates with kind of how I kind of see life now. And he also impacted so many people. Not only was he, a great boxer, but he also stood for a lot of humanitarian rights, people's beliefs. He was really religious. He even changed his name. So, and he was very friendly on all parts, and he had a great sense of humor. So that's one role model, like a celebrity role model that I would say that like I think about every now and then. And even now, you kind of see some clips of his greatness. And even when he was older in his later days, when he wasn't doing as well, you can see the impact of how the people see him when they're around him, like Mike Tyson and some of the other people that hang out with him. And it was he's someone that I really look up to, and kind of has shaped how I view life and
Okay.
what my perspective is. Yeah.
I haven't heard that one in a while, but he's certainly a very inspirational individual.
He's a very inspirational guy. So yeah, he's one that I like a lot. Kind of like the brainy people too, like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And
that's contentious. Some people like him, some people don't.
Yeah,
okay. Can you tell me why you like him?
How do I say this? So you don't have to like everything about someone.
Sure.
So there's certain things that I like about him that makes sense, because he's all about trying to make the world better for everybody. He's trying to look into new renewable energy, trying to do things where you can reuse the rockets and whatnot. He's trying to develop things for the future of Earth so that we can, be sustainable, be more carbon neutral, or even carbon negative. And he's trying to do things that benefit mankind in general. He may have done selfish things in the past, or he may have done some things that people don't like. And that's, very understandable. Not everyone is perfect, but there are certain aspects of what he believes in, what he does, which I think is, very, honorable to talk about. Yep. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to another topic. A more really fun one.
Sure.
Is you came from Connecticut, and it was like what, 2 years in Connecticut?
Almost 3 years. Yeah.
Oh, almost 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and now you moved to DC. It's been like since February, March, April,
Yeah.
March. It's been
March.
about 5-ish months.
5-ish months, 6-ish months. Yeah.
How's the transition been?
Yeah. So we were in Connecticut for a little while. My fiance Samantha, she did a residency up in Hartford. We were there, and I practiced in a town called Meriden for a few years, and a nice family practice. We moved down because we felt isolated in Connecticut. Connecticut's very nice, it's a very beautiful state. It's very close to New York City and Boston, so we would always go and escape Connecticut, go to all these places, go to Maine and stuff. But no, we would also do stuff in Connecticut too. So Connecticut was great for that. But we didn't know anyone besides like our neighbors, and it was just felt isolated, and we didn't see ourselves there for a long time. So we decided to come down to DC. We actually looked into different cities. My sister lives in Chicago. She's been there for like 11, 12 years now. We thought about Chicago.
Chicago's fun.
We wanted to be near a metropolitan area where there's more going on, a bit more diversity, more events, more things we can get involved with. The other thing is Samantha has a master's in not public health, but master's in nutrition. And she wanted to do something in public health. related to dentistry. So we wanted to be in a city where we can network with people and maybe work with nonprofit organizations or even government organizations
DC.
like DC, NIH in Bethesda, and
Yeah.
you got the FDA here.
Yeah.
You even have a branch of the American Dental Association here. So she actually reached out to all those people, and the job opportunities are kind of few and far between. It's kind of a niche like career, but the ability to have that kind of position is higher in this area than it was, in Connecticut. So,
Sure.
So that's one of the major reasons we decided to move down here. And also, she's from upstate New York, and I'm from Florida originally, and we wanted something in between.
Oh yeah, it's nice in between.
Yeah, and then like the airport's very close, so if I want to see my family in Florida, it's a quick flight down. And also for her, it's about like a 5-hour drive to see her family. So it's like manageable, it's not too crazy of a distance from our family.
So this is long term, DC?
Yeah. So the goal is long term.
Long term.
Yeah. Just because like for our careers, it's like, it's nice to be established and, develop a patient base, develop a following. Yeah. That's kind of what I wanted in Connecticut. And I was with that practice for a while, and I did build a little bit of a following, and I think patients were some patients at least were sad to see me go. More patients are. So, but yeah, it's you connect with people, and you really you develop that relationship, and they really trust you. That's kind of what dentistry is all about: is building that trust, and really being able to help people, and they believe in what you're doing for them.
Okay.
So we don't want to move. Well, I don't want to move too much because of that aspect of our career. Building up that following. If we moved again, it would be like kind of starting all over again.
Yeah.
And it just
so no plans for now. This is where you're gonna establish the base.
So
okay.
Base is here for now.
It's
for
nice.
At least the next immediate 5 years or so.
It's a good choice in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. It's a nice mix of everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you can take this question however you want. It could be life, personal, professional, whatever.
Yeah.
What are your future plans in the next 5 to 10 years?
So I guess I'll talk both life and business. In business side, I'd like to be managing a practice or be like a partner in a practice in the next 5 years. That's definitely something that I could attain. Depending on the trends that how I'm working and whatnot, and I also do hope to be involved in more projects on the side, like real estate, not just doing dentistry, but also doing other kinds of businesses too. I'm pretty interested in business, and so I'd like to kind of branch out from my own career and do a little bit more.
And you're talking about non-dentistry type
non-dental type of stuff. Yeah.
What's another example outside of real estate that you're interested in?
So I'd like to.
Or these ideas you don't want to share? These are your ideas. Is it more like that? You don't have to share.
No, I mean that's. I mean
It's always interesting to hear people's hobbies outside of their typical career. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, that's
not to steal your ideas.
No, yeah. Maybe like something related to traveling. So.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people travel.
Yeah.
Definitely enjoy traveling, and I think there's an area, a certain facet in travel that we could really implement new things about. And now that travel is going to pick up, well, hopefully travel picks up. There's some opportunities.
I wonder if it was like a traveling dentist kind of service.
Yeah, actually, there's a guy. He graduated from UF. He was like couple years ahead of me. He's known as a traveling dentist. He's
traveled to like visit people?
Went to 200 something countries.
Oh, like this is personal travel.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I was thinking like a business would be like.
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean like
a service, like
that's true.
Concierge service dentist. Like no matter where you live in the U.S., you hit up this app and then you can pick and then you fly out dentist. Anyways, random.
That's a good one. I'll write that one down.
Okay. Anything else? Like big ideas?
Life-wise, I think just maybe having family, and that's always something that has been on my mind. Getting older now, so definitely want to kind of eventually have a family. Pass on my knowledge about certain things, life. Could be dentistry, could not be dentistry, could be riding a bike. So, I just want to kind of, build up the next generation. So,
Okay,
yeah.
very nice. We're gonna start wrapping up. It's been 55 minutes now, so we're gonna say
Sure.
2 more things.
Yeah.
The first thing is those who are watching who are interested in dentistry, especially pre-dentistry, let's say college students or maybe people who are in graduate programs, but basically pre-dental people. What kind of tips or advice do you have someone who wants to pursue dentistry in that case?
Yeah. So what kind of advice do I have for people that are pursuing dentistry, like pre-dental?
Yeah.
So what I recommend is volunteering of some sort, dental related, of course. So either you're shadowing in an office or you're volunteering at a clinic. It could be a community clinic. It could be a school of some sort. If you don't have a dental school near you, then go to find a local community clinic. There's usually one set up within so many miles of each next town, so that there's hopefully access to care. And that way you can at least see for yourself if this is the right field for you to get into. So that's the first part, really getting involved with the actual career of it, seeing if it's right for you. And then the next thing is really just to get the classes done right and do well in them, perform well, make good relationships with the professors, because that's really how you'll really end up getting into the programs, because you need to have letters of recommendation. So you want to develop those good relationships. You want to do good in those classes. And so you can ask for the letters. It's easier for the professor to write a letter if you're a good student and if they know you, and maintain that relationship. I remember when I was asking for letters for dental school, I had a few professors in mind, and I worked closely with some. And I ended up doing some research with one, and this is I didn't even sign up for a credit. She just really enjoyed having me in her class, and then she asked me to be a part of her after-hour research group.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and I was able to do a lot of lab work. I didn't have to pay for the credits or anything like that, and I helped her with the class. It was a microbiology professor, and she was great, by the way. Very tough person, but once you get to know her, she's like the best. And so get to know your professors, do well in the classes, volunteer again. And then when you're applying for schools to get into the programs, you really want to do your research. You don't want to just apply to 20 schools, 30 schools. It's pretty expensive for one. And then you want to really know what the school looks for. Certain schools kind of want to have students that go on to post-grad type of programs. They want them to go into specialty programs. So in those schools, they're going to be heavy GPA, heavy, DAT scores. They're going to really want to make sure those numbers are very high. Other schools, they may not consider the GPA they may not want the GPA as high because they want their students to become general dentists. Just, do the 4 years of school and then go and work and serve the communities that are in need. So you really want to do your research of which school is looking at what and what that school is known for. And I have someone that I'm working with now. She's actually my assistant, and she's gonna apply to dental school. And so I tell her different tips every now and then. I tell her that every dental school is going to be unique, and you have to figure out which one is going to best fit you, because you're going to spend 4 years of your time at this school. So you want to make sure you're going to enjoy being at this school for 4 years, and that this school is going to offer you what you're looking for. And it's somewhat hard to figure out what you're looking for because you're not quite into the dental field yet. And it's kind of like when you're going into college, what major do you want to study? It's kind of hard to pick that major, but you want to identify kind of early on, do you want to do a specialty? Do you want to do GP? Or do you want to do certain procedures? When you go into dental school, you're going to learn about every single procedure. But most likely when you finish dental school, you will not want to do every single procedure. So that's just the way most careers go. You're going to learn the general stuff, and then you're going to decide what you want to do. So Well, by that, I mean every school is strong in certain aspects. Some
Mm.
schools are strong in oral surgeries, endodontics, or
Gotcha.
periodontics, and some schools are really strong in the other side of it. You want to identify what those strengths are. Most likely, if the school has a specialty program, they're going to be very strong in that. But also, most likely, if they have that specialty program, you are not going to do as many of those cases because those cases will go to the specialty programs. So if there's an endodontic residency program at the school you're looking at, and it's a well-known endodontic school, you're most likely not going to do a lot of root canals at that school because all those root canal cases will end up going to that specialty program to train the specialist in that one. So you will have minimal training in that. And then when you graduate, you will probably not want to do that kind of procedure. So that's kind of why a lot of dentists, well, I wouldn't say a lot, I mean, some number of dentists don't like to do root canals. And I think people can agree that, it's not that fun. And Sam does not like to do, Sam, my fiance, she's also a dentist. She does not like to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, I like to do that kind of stuff. So it's like, if you like to do certain things, you have to figure out early by shadowing, by learning what kind of career you're going to want to get into. And then when you're in school, you want to identify the strengths of those schools and really kind of like build your way towards what your interest is. So, school is only there to serve your purposes. And so you have to cater it to you. So the school has all the resources for you, and you have to figure out how you're going to use those resources to, develop the kind of career path you want to go into. So that's kind of how I see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing those advices.
Welcome.
Now, to wrap this up, do you want to do any plugs for where your work? You want to find your local neighborhood dentist or anything like that?
Yeah, I work in Fairfax, Virginia. Work for Dental One Associates. You can look me up. I think the number is 703-273-6622. Call me, make an appointment. I'll see you soon. So
there you go. And we're add all the information into the description of videos below if you want to go and hit Eric up. Okay, well, it was fun chatting, Eric.
Yeah,
Learned a lot. It was great. Lots of great conversation.
Me.
Yeah, and then maybe have you again on some future.
Thanks. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me too. Hopefully, brought some good points.
Yeah, it was great. Okay.